Building Better Businesses with Catalyst Consulting is brought to you in partnership with Speak Studios and Speak Spokane, presented by Delicious Hamburgers. Speak Spokane is a community-driven studio space where voices from all walks of life can speak and be heard. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook at Speak Studios, Speak Spokane, and at their website, speakpodcasting.com. Speak Studios, speak and be heard. Building Better Businesses with Catalyst Consulting is brought to you in partnership with Spin City. Spin City is an indoor cycling studio that strives on making sure everyone feels welcome and comfortable. At Spin City, exercise is more than physical, it's a mental workout. When you come to Spin City, you become family. Spin City is family-owned and believes supporting our community is the most important way to help grow our city. Email them now at info@spincityspokane.com or call anytime at 509-919-4824. We're all spending a little bit more time at home, so let the Furniture Outpost serve your needs. Locally owned and located in the heart of Spokane's Monroe Business District, the Furniture Outpost is there for your furniture needs. Sofas and love seats, sectionals, dining room, bedroom sets, mattresses, and so much more. No matter what you are looking for, they have it. Financing is a breeze with the Furniture Outpost. Come see them at 2801 North Monroe Street. Hey guys, we're excited to announce that we have recently partnered with eBay. If you're looking for awesome deals on exclusive and select products, click the link in the description. This week, you can get up to 50% off select Apple products, and that offer ends March 31st, so take advantage while you can. Thank you so much for joining me. This is episode 3 of the Building Better Businesses with Catalyst Consulting podcast. My guest today is Malia Rogers. She is a health insurance broker, and I'll read you a little bit of information about her. So with over 15 years of award-winning customer care and sales experience, Malia is known for her integrity and passion for helping others. She started in the consumer lending and mortgage industry and is now a nationwide health insurance broker. She's also a national trainer and mentor to health insurance agents. She's proud to be a first-generation American, is bilingual, and has her master's in business administration. Malia resides in North Idaho with her husband, 2 kids, and enjoys traveling, cooking, and camping. And Malia, we met through a women's networking group. Actually, we originally met through a random networking and quarantine group that our mutual friend Marvin Sears set up. And then we connected even further through Polka Dot Powerhouse, actually. And that's how we became friends and referral partners.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm excited to be invited to your podcast. So thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for doing this. So tell us a little bit about you. I know I already read your bio, but tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
Well, so Kristen, I consider myself a matchmaker of health insurance because everyone's needs, budgets, and options are unique. And with so many different options out there, it's just kind of like dating. People are anxious to find the right one for them, right? And so that's why I call myself the matchmaker of health insurance.
Perfect. That makes sense. Share a fun fact about you. What's something that people don't know? I know you said you're bilingual. What's your second language or first language, actually, right?
Yes. So Vietnamese. And I think I might be the only Vietnamese-speaking health broker in Idaho because I'm getting calls all over the state of Idaho from Vietnamese-speaking members. So a fun fact about me, I actually met my husband at my yard sale in my hometown, which is the only solo yard sale I've ever had. But get this, Kristen, we didn't see each other again until 2 years later when I moved to his hometown and we ran into each other at the gym. And so we always joke about how I inherited all that junk I was trying to get rid of when I married him. And still to this day, we still have those Nintendo games he bought for me.
That's amazing. So you tried to offload all your stuff and then got it right back. Well, actually not right back. It took a couple of years.
Right.
That's too funny. That's a really great story. That's one of those the universe kind of puts people together when it's supposed to, sort of things. Like you randomly had a yard sale and then you randomly went to the gym a couple of years later. So
right, exactly. Yeah. It was meant to be.
Yeah, that's cute. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up where you are now? How did you get here from like the mortgage industry?
And so about 15 years ago, I was in the mortgage industry and I became friends with a lady named Jacqueline Lang. So I met her there. She was another loan officer. We stayed in touch via Facebook, but I hadn't seen her in years. And about 8 to 9 years ago, just randomly, she messages me through Facebook. And she said she initially tried to ask me to join her in the business. And I turned her down at first because at the time, my husband and I were teaching concealed carry classes on the weekends, which was very profitable at the time. But then she said, no, think about it, pray about it. And after talking to Chris and praying about it, I realized, like, you know what? The need was greater for insurance. And we were starting to get tired of, traveling every weekend when we were teaching those classes. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I'm glad I got into the business. It's been a really rewarding experience. And then last year, I had friends, Joanna Whitecoff and Joe Tritola from Nation Care. They actually recruited me to help them launch the under 65 health division. And so now I spend a good portion of time training agents how to do what I do as well.
That's very cool. I think it's always interesting to hear how people got to where they are now, because in, I think, most cases these days, it's not where you started. Maybe a couple generations ago, you would be in the same job or career that you started in 15 or 20 years ago. But for a lot of us now, that's not the case. So it's always fascinating to me to hear people's journeys of how they got where they are. So how do you provide support for business owners and entrepreneurs?
Okay, so if you're self-employed, unless your spouse works for a large company, usually you have to buy your own health insurance, which can be very expensive. So there's many people today that are paying more for their health insurance than their rent or mortgage. And so what I do is I access their situation, their needs, go over their options. And based on their budget, we make sure that they're properly covered and not overpaying. And I just make sure there isn't anything better out there for them.
That makes sense. So you're just kind of doing the research and helping them find what they're looking for?
Exactly.
What different types of coverage are available for people to take advantage of?
Okay, so currently there's really only 4 types of coverages out there. And not all of them are available in all states. So some states like Washington, there's really only 2 options available, while some states like Texas, all of these options are available. And there's new plans that come out all the time, but it just basically narrows down to these 4. Okay, so you've got the traditional plans, which is otherwise known as marketplace plans. They cover wellness visits, the minimal essential coverage. They cover pre-existing. It covers maternity. And they have a cap on your out-of-pocket costs with no limits on what the coverage provides. Now, the next type of coverage is called a short-term medical plan. These are designed for more catastrophic incidences. They won't cover wellness, they won't cover pre-existing or maternity, and you can't stay on them forever. The third type is called a health share. So it's like a co-op. You can't call these insurance because claims are not paid by insurance carriers. So it's people pooling their money together. They put their money into this escrow account managed by the group, and then the group pays the providers through using that escrow account. And then the last type is called an indemnity plan. Now, the indemnity plans are the cheapest option, but also the riskiest, because it only pays a set or fixed amount depending on your services needed. So let's just say you're hospitalized and then they say, we're going to pay pay an X amount per day towards the services, then you're on the hook for the rest. So if your hospital bill is $100,000 and the plan only pays, 40,000, then that could be very devastating. And so it's important to know all these different options, because a lot of times people don't realize that these other options exist. And so when they hear a plan, all they think about is the monthly pricing. They don't actually know what's being covered until something horrible happens. And then they say, oh, that wasn't covered? Oh, shoot. And then it's too late. The first option I mentioned is the only option that will fully cover pre-existing conditions and maternity. And if you qualify for a subsidy, it's the only type of plan that you can apply the subsidy towards. Now, if you qualify for the subsidy or have major pre-existing conditions, the traditional plan, the first option I mentioned, is really the only way to go.
So, what is a subsidy, if you don't mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yes. So basically, in most states, if you're under 400% federal poverty level, then you qualify for some sort of discount to apply towards the traditional marketplace plan. And so it depends on how many people is in your household. So for example, if you're a single person, that amount is $51,040. If you're a couple, then it's $68,960, and then that amount increases the more kids and dependents you have in the family.
So it's based on your income level. You could get, essentially what you're saying is just a discount on the marketplace, the traditional plans, if you qualify based on income.
Yes, that's correct.
So then what's the difference between affordable care and like a health insurance company, like something like I have Molina Healthcare? So is that all available on the marketplace? Like, is that where you would look for comparisons between the affordable care insurance and then other stuff too?
Yes. So the marketplace, the affordable care insurance, so that is like a platform that insurance carriers will offer coverage options for. So mainly, if it's offered through the marketplace, and different states call it different things. So Washington is, the Washington Health Finder. California is Covered California. Idaho is Your Health Idaho. It's basically the same thing, but the insurance carriers all put their marketplace plans on there to shop. So Molina is a marketplace plan. Okay. That's a traditional plan. Kind of like in the real estate world, there's the MLS. That's what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's different people that are putting their homes on the market on the MLS. You could shop there, or you could shop private, which is maybe like Craigslist or, for sale by owner. So not all plans are available on the exchange, just like not all homes that are for sale are on MLS.
Oh, I see. Okay, perfect. So let's see. So when it comes to health insurance, what common misconceptions do you often hear?
Okay, so the top 3 that I hear all the time is, number 1, if I'm young and healthy and hardly go to the doctor, I don't need insurance. Well, the truth is accidents and illnesses can happen, and just like you can't wait till you get into an auto wreck to insure your car. You just can't hop onto an insurance plan when you need surgery, not all the time. So there's open enrollment periods. And right now, February 15th through May 15th, they are going to open up a special election period. But outside of those election periods, you can't just jump on whenever you need it. In fact, I've had 2 clients that were both super healthy, but ended up with over $1 million in claims within just a short period of time. And one of those clients actually said, well, I was actually thinking about dropping insurance because I'm so healthy, but luckily he was still insured when he started having those health issues. So the number 2 common misconception is that people think Obamacare got rid of the pre-existing conditions clause altogether. Now, this is just partially true because there's no pre-existing conditions clauses on the marketplace plan, but this rule doesn't apply to all plans out there. So private plans or non-marketplace plans, they don't actually have to cover your pre-existing conditions. And so this is one of the ways you can tell if it's a traditional marketplace plan. So you can ask, does it cover pre-existing conditions? If it doesn't, then most likely it's not a marketplace plan. And the third misconception is that these insurance carriers are making massive profits off the marketplace plans because they look at the premiums, and these premiums can be outrageous, right? So they're thinking, man, all these carriers are making hand over fist, when in fact, I think that these marketplace plans are a lot of them they're losing money off of. We just recently talked about all the different plans that are available. And when you think about it, if you have a healthy person that doesn't qualify for the subsidy, they're more likely to go on like a private plan, right? A non-marketplace, a non-Obamacare plan. Well, so what happens is now you've only got the unhealthy people with major pre-existing conditions or people who qualify for the subsidy mostly on that plan, right? And so the problem with that is these carriers are now, a lot of them are trying to exit that market. And in some parts of the country, there's only 1 or 2 options or 1 or 2 plans that they could choose from, as a result of that. And so by law, they have to pay out an X amount percentage based on what they're bringing in. And so I guess my point is these carriers are not making as much as profiting as much as most people think they are.
That makes sense. And it seems like, it's the whole reason why you have car insurance or life insurance or any other type of insurance is that if something happens and you had to pay for it out of pocket, then that can be pretty devastating to your livelihood in general. So it's having health insurance, even if you're healthy, is not really the point. Like you have a car and you have car insurance because at some point your car might be in an accident that is your fault or not, and you don't necessarily have the money to pay for it. So it's the same logic, I would think.
Right, exactly.
So what's the difference between insurance as an individual or family versus company provided insurance? Like if I was a business owner that had employees, how does that change the game for me a little bit?
Yes, so there's a couple of differences here. If you're just doing an individual plan, you're just paying for coverage for you and your family. As an employer, if you're doing a group plan, then you're going to pay at least 50% of just your employee's premium. So the thing is, it is cost deductible, and a lot of groups have, they qualify for the shop discount. So like a tax credit at the end of the year for the premiums that they're paid, which is really helpful. But you also get more options available through employer plans. So let's just say you were an individual in Texas. Well, in Texas, on a marketplace plan, there's only HMOs available. There's no such thing as PPO on the marketplace in Texas. But if you were an employer in Texas and you wanted a PPO, then you can offer a group plan and offer your employees coverage and have access to PPOs. The downside to that, to keep in mind, is that on all of these group employer plans, even if you qualify for the subsidy income-wise, they cannot be applied to the employer group plan. and your employees will be disqualified from getting that subsidy. So even if you offer them coverage and they say, no, thanks, it's just too expensive for me to add my family, they can no longer go out on their own and buy a marketplace plan and get that subsidy.
When you said the 50% or more, is it every state you have to pay at least half of your employees' insurance, or does that change based on the state?
So each state is different. Some states allow you to just do a fixed amount per employee. In general, it's like 50% is expected at least. You could do more, but you can't discriminate. So you can't just say, okay, employee A and B will get 75% covered, but the same level of another employee, I'm only going to cover 50%. So across the board, it just has to be fair for everyone.
So if somebody had, a family with 4 kids, you couldn't say, well, I'm only going to cover $100, and then I'm also only going to cover $100 of the single person, because the family is presumably much more cost, I would assume. So,
well, but for most employer group plans, you basically have to front the entire bill, and then you deduct the employee's portion from their payroll. And you're really only required to pay for the employee, but you don't have to pay a single portion or any of their dependents.
That makes sense. So just the employee themselves.
Yes.
Then, okay. No, that's good to know. So as far as having a group, how many employees do you have to be able to offer insurance as a benefit to your employees? And then do you get discounts? So is it, as a person, do I get a discount on my insurance if I have employees on the group plan, or does it really matter?
Well, so to answer your question, for most policies, it's just a minimum of 2. So it could be you and one other employee, and it can't be the other employee as your spouse. So you do have to offer it to all. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to offer it to a few people in my company. But other people, if they have coverage elsewhere, then they can opt out of it. So if you've got an employee that has better coverage through their spouse, they can just opt out of your coverage. And then to answer your second question, which was, remind me again, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I doubled up. Do you get a discount? Like if I decide to offer insurance for my employees, is mine better priced?
So your premiums are based on the average of the group's age. So if you have a group of employees that are all in their 60s getting ready to get on Medicare, then your premiums are going to be on average higher than if you had a bunch of younger people in your group. And then the larger the group, then the better pricing you can get. So it's based on the number of people and the average age of your employees.
Okay. That kind of makes sense, because it's from a risk assessment perspective, which is essentially what insurance is, and how they decide what it costs, right? Is
right.
Based on statistics, this group would cost us more to cover because of X, Y, and Z. So, okay.
Yeah, now there are some carriers that will offer a little bit of a discount if their employees participate in a wellness checkup thing, because those employees that participate in that are more likely to go get, their wellness visits and preventative taken care of to prevent larger claims down the road.
Excellent. Okay. What advice would you give to people when it comes to their health insurance?
All right. So my best advice is to work with a broker. So brokers can shop for you, and we don't charge for any of our services. And then if we find you a plan and enroll you in it, the carrier will actually compensate us for our time. And so your price, whether you shop with a broker or go directly to the carrier, is the same exact price. But then now you have an agent that will go to bat for you if you ever need help with claims or if you have any issues. And then we also, as brokers, will stay on top of the industry. So as new plans come up, then you know that you're not overpaying and that you're on the best plan possible. So my second piece of advice is always clarify whether the plan covers pre-existing conditions, if they cover wellness or maternity. Because a lot of people assume that all of these things are covered by their plan, but it's not always the case. If they're buying a non-marketplace plan, then those plans most likely won't cover those things. And check your providers to make sure they're in network by calling in. So sometimes you'll jump online, you'll check the network online, and it appears that your provider's in network, but you won't know for sure because that changes all the time. So the best thing to do is to call your providers and say, hey, do you take this plan? And then also check formularies. If you're on any kind of expensive prescriptions, make sure that the plan will cover those prescriptions. So it's very important, especially if you're taking expensive prescriptions, that you always check the formularies. Make sure that the plan that you're buying will cover your prescription, because that could be a really costly mistake if you find out later that it's not covered. And then don't just look at price. You're going to want to consider and compare coverage as well. Compare the deductibles, the co-pays, the coinsurance, and your max out of pocket.
That makes sense, because those would be things that down the road, if you didn't know, maybe you have a $10,000 deductible or something like that you didn't know that you had, and that seriously changes things. So
every day I run into someone that says, hey, I signed up for this plan and I didn't know that it didn't cover XYZ.
It's very overwhelming to, like, health insurance is one of those things that just seems like crazy overwhelming to people. So, you know, even if your employer offers insurance and you're trying to figure out, like, does this actually protect me in the ways that I need it to? Similar to having just like other insurance, you know, car insurance, home insurance, whatever it is, having an agent that you can go and ask questions and stuff, I think is very important. So yes, I'm glad that you exist.
Thank you.
Tell us how we can best support you. Who are you looking to connect with, or what projects are you working on? How can we help you?
So I love connecting with other professionals and business owners in the industries, because not only am I looking for resources for my clients, as kind of what I mentioned before, I'm like a matchmaker. My clients will often come to me and say, hey, Malia, who do you know that can help me with, you know, financial services, or do you know a good CPA? And so I would like to be able to connect them with good resources, people who know what they're doing. And also 100% of my business is all from referrals and word of mouth. And so I'm getting a lot of referrals from referral partners, you know, CPAs, financial advisors, even competitors.
That's very cool. And I think that's one of the things that has really made the difference for you. I've listened to you talk about building a referral business and the strategy behind that, as opposed to just like going out and talking to a bunch of people. What's one thing that you would give people advice on that, as far as those of us in like service-based industries or very like referral-driven industries? What would you say has helped you with that?
It's actually been known that people are 4 times more likely to buy from you if they were referred to you. And so if you're in a very competitive industry, it's a way to stand out, right? Because and so it's important to do a couple of things. Number one, social media building skills is very important, because it's not the best product that wins. It's the best marketed product that wins. And you are the product and brand, correct? And so it's important for you to invest in those skill sets, or, you know, have someone else handle it if that's not like your wheelhouse, right? And then also working on self-growth, because if you're an industry that's very competitive and you've got a referral partner that has 5 different agents that they could refer business to, they're going to choose the one that they think is going to take care of their client the best, but also, I mean, it's a relationship building. I mean, it's a relationship service type industry. So they're going to go with whoever has the most connections. And if you're always working on self-growth, then you're going to be able to build relationships a lot easier and quicker.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, and that really is something that you do extremely well. So if anyone has questions for Malia, not just on health insurance, but on building a super strong referral business, she loves talking about that too. So how do people get in touch with you if they would like to ask you some questions?
The best way to get a hold of me is through Facebook Messenger, and that is facebook.com/MediGapBroker, or my email, malia@customizeyourinsurance.com.
Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And seriously, if you guys have any questions about insurance, Malia is amazing and she will answer all your questions for you. She's super patient and really knows what she's talking about. So she's a great resource for that. And I think that's it. Next episode coming soon. Have a great rest of your day, Malia.
Thank you, Kristen. Nice chatting with you.
This podcast was produced and edited by Speak Spokane.